It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. All right, everybody, it's time for our Friday Agile, Not So Agile episode of the Daily Stand Up. So I thought it'd be good to share a story with you, as I always do. So, during the waning years of the Depression in a small southeastern Idaho community, I used to stop by Mr. Miller's roadside stand for farm fresh produce as the season made it available. Food and money were still extremely scarce, and barter was used extensively. On one particular day, as Mr. Miller was bagging some early potatoes for me, I noticed a small boy, delicate of bone and feature, ragged but clean, hungrily appraising a basket of freshly picked green peas. Upon paying for my produce, I moved to leave, but was also drawn to the display of fresh green peas. I'm a pushover for cream peas and new potatoes. Pondering the peas, I couldn't help but overhearing the conversation between Mr. Miller and a ragged boy next to me. Hello, Barry. How are you today? Hello, Mr. Miller. I'm fine, thank you. Just admiring them peas. They sure look good. They are good, Barry. How's your mom? Fine, getting stronger all the time. Good. Anything I can help you with? No, sir. Just admiring them peas. Would you like to take some home? No, sir. I got nothing to pay for 'em with. Well, what do you have to trade for some of those peas? Well, all I got's my prize Aggie marble. It's the best tall around here. Is that right? Let me see it. Here it is. She sure is a dandy. I can see that. Only thing is, this one's blue. I sort of go for red. Do you have a red one like this at home? Not exactly, but almost. I'll tell you what. Take this sack of peas home with you. And next trip this way, let me look at that red tall marble. I want to see that one. I sure will. Thanks, Mr. Miller. Mrs. Miller, who had been standing nearby, came over to help me. With a sly smile, she said, You know, there are two other boys like him in our community. All three are in very poor circumstances. Jim just loves to bargain with them for peas, apples, tomatoes, or whatever. When they come back with the red marble, and they always do, he decides he doesn't like red after all and sends them home with a bag of produce for a different green marble, or an orange one perhaps. I left the stand smiling to myself, impressed with this man. A short time later, I moved away, but I never ever forgot the story of this man and the boys and their bartering system. Several years went by, each more rapid than the previous one. Just recently, I had an occasion to visit some old friends in that small Idaho community, and while there, I'd learned that Mr. Miller had died. They were having his viewing that evening, and knowing my friends wanted me to go, I agreed to accompany them. Upon arrival at the mortuary, we fell into line to meet the relatives of the deceased and to offer whatever words of comfort that we could. Ahead of us in line were three young men. One was tall, handsome, in an army uniform. The other two had short haircuts, dark suits, white shirts. These kids were dressed sharply and looked like they could be in any business profession. They approached Mrs. Miller, standing, smiling, and composed by her husband's casket. Each of the young men gently hugged her, kissed her on the cheek, spoke briefly with her, and moved on to the casket. Her misty light blue eyes followed them as one by one each young man stopped briefly, placed his own warm hand over the cold pale hand in the casket, and left the mortuary awkwardly wiping their eyes. As our turn came to meet Mrs. Miller, I told her who I was and mentioned a story she had told me about the marbles. Eyes glistening, she took my hand and led me to the casket. This is an amazing coincidence, she said. Those three boys that just left were each of the three boys that I told you about. They just told me how they appreciated all the things that Jim had traded them. Now at last, when Jim could not change his mind about the color or the size, each came to pay their debt. We've never had a great deal of wealth in this world, she confided. But right now, Jim would consider himself the richest man in all of Idaho. With loving gentleness, she lifted his lifeless fingers, and resting underneath were three magnificent, shiny red marbles. Friends, sometimes the small things we do matter. Sometimes the things that we do to uplift others really do make a difference. Sometimes it's not about having enough to pay for to cover what we can do. Sometimes it's about recognizing what we do have and giving what we do have. And other times it's about accepting what someone else has to offer, knowing that they may not have all that they need and that we can help them be in a better position. Now, I know in my case, I've had several opportunities where I've given back to those who serve in law enforcement or the military, those who serve in the medical profession. I've even done a class for teachers where I've allowed teachers to come for no charge to obtain tools that could help them be better in a classroom. And what I can tell you is that the times that I felt the most fulfillment, the times that I felt the wealthiest, the times that I felt like I had the best in the world, everything that I needed, were the times when were the times when I extended that hand to others, and I knew that they didn't have much to give, but that I knew that I could make a difference in their life. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason why people go onto the LinkedIn website and other websites, and the number one comment that they leave about our courses is humbling. Many people say the course is life changing. I can't guarantee that the work that we do within Agile Dad will change lives. But what I can guarantee is that whatever you have, whatever you can bring to the table, that should be enough for you to be able to receive the world-class coaching and training that you need in order to make your life better, in order to help you be where you need to be. And with that in mind, we're hoping very soon to introduce a new program to meet people where they are and to help people who may not be able to fully afford bringing in an agile coach to be able to have the help they need in order to be successful both in their personal and professional lives. That's going to do it for this day, and I hope this preview gives you something to think about, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next Monday, do take care.